Hi everybody, welcome to Black Americana. I'm Ashley, and in this video we are going to celebrate the life and legacy of Malcolm-Jamal Warner. We met him as Theo Huxtable on The Cosby Show, and his role shifted the media landscape as far as how young black men are portrayed. So we are going to look at his impact, the man he was off camera, and the legacy he leaves behind. So if you're ready, keep watching. Malcolm-Jamal Warner was born to Robert and Pamela Warner on August 18, 1970 in Jersey City, New Jersey. His father named him after Malcolm X and jazz great Ahmad Jamal, hoping their greatness would be impressed upon his son. His father is an alumnus of Lincoln University, where he was Gil Scott-Heron's residential advisor, leading to Malcolm listening to Gil's work from infancy. His parents divorced around his preschool years, and he and his mother moved to her hometown, Los Angeles, California. He spent his summers in his father's native Chicago. His father would require he read about influential Black Americans and then write a book report on what he learned. While Malcolm was in elementary school, his father remarried. His mother made sure to keep him busy too, especially since she was completing her undergraduate degree. What she had no plans of, though, was her son embarking on an acting career. Reflecting on his life as an 8-year-old, she said, "My focus was to provide some sort of extracurricular activity for my child. He was in Little League Baseball and he hated it. He tried basketball and he hated that too." A friend suggested putting him in a local children's theater group. She was friends with the theater director, Gary Veeney. "I didn't feel I had anything to lose, and it sounded interesting. I met with the director, signed Malcolm up, and scheduled his audition. He won his audition and became a member of the Inglewood Playhouse. Malcolm totally embraced the theater and the work. He had finally found something that truly engaged him. He was totally committed. He said to me after their first production, after he took his first curtain call, that this was what he wanted to do for the rest of his life." Miriam Baum, proprietor of the boutique agency Artists First, was the first agent to approach Malcolm as he entered junior high school. His mother declined as she was in the final year of undergrad and felt she couldn't give Malcolm's career the proper attention. When Baum approached again the next year, his mother agreed, saying, "The next season there was another production. The same agent approached me again. This time I considered it. I had earned my BA and completed my education. I had started a small catering business, so my time was my own. I took her up on the offer, signing Malcolm to her agency. For me, it was still an extracurricular activity for him, and I was pleased that Malcolm was sticking with it. However, show business was still not a part of my vision." Despite Pamela's vision, Malcolm quickly began building a resume. His first television role was on the crime drama Matt Houston in 1982, and he appeared on the television series Fame the next year. But Malcolm's career skyrocketed when his agent sent him to a casting for The Cosby Show. The show was loosely based on the life of comedian Bill Cosby, his wife/manager Camille, and their 5 children. Apart from Bill and Camille's careers in entertainment, they both earned doctorates from the University of Massachusetts Amherst, so they ultimately decided to make the parents on the show successful professionals. Bill Cosby would play Heathcliff Huxtable, a medical doctor, and Felicia Rashad, then known as Felicia Ayers-Allen, would play Claire Huxtable, an attorney. After a successful audition, Malcolm was cast as Theodore Alois Huxtable. Being that Cosby had 4 daughters and 1 son, he framed the children on the show like his own children. The lone Cosby boy, Ennis, would be a source of inspiration for Theo, but the character also filled a gap in media. Adolescent black boys had largely been ignored in American television. Perhaps the first fleshed out stories of black boys coming of age were JJ and Michael Evans on Good Times, which premiered in 1974. JJ's optimism and Michael's activism shape characters that remain important today, but it is undeniable how poverty boxed in their ambitions. The next year, What's Happening?, a sitcom centered around three black teenagers in Watts, premiered. The trio consisted of young men who were talented but lacked the structure to maximize their potential. Different Strokes, premiering in 1978, was one of the defining shows of the era as a wealthy white widower adopts the children of his now deceased black employee. While we were finally able to see black children enjoy privilege, some black Americans felt the show insinuated black boys could only prosper if they were removed out of a black environment. In 1983, Webster centered a similar plotline. When The Cosby Show premiered in 1984, the portrayal of black male youth was somewhat frazzled. The crack epidemic was seeping into every major city, and hip-hop was the boogeyman. Then Theo Huxtable, as the lone boy amongst his four siblings, shifted the discussion. The upward mobility of the Huxtables is one of the more polarizing aspects of the show, as some find it unrealistic. Theo's background does not make him better than the Evans boys from a decade prior, but he was the embodiment of what so many parents of any race dream of being able to provide their children. The dynamic of the Huxtable men also allowed viewers to finally see a black paternal line where the grandfather, father, and son could share our cultural traditions. When Malcolm reflected on the show, he said, "The Cosby Show was the first time on television you saw a black family where the humor was not predicated upon how hard it is to be black in America or black expectations and black slang." Bill Cosby said the humor is in the truth. When you play the truth of the moment, you'll find the humor. That way you can make anything funny. Even with the cultural components, we didn't feel we were watching an objectification of Theo's life. We were able to just see him be. The ups and downs of dating, his dyslexia diagnosis, inspired by Ennis Cosby's own dyslexia diagnosis, being a great friend, and being a dutiful brother and son. Theo was what we needed when we didn't know we needed him. The show was a crossover hit in its first season, becoming the third highest rated show in the United States, ranked only behind primetime soap opera juggernauts Dynasty and Dallas. Malcolm said, "When The Cosby Show first hit and out the box, it was this phenomenon. I was 14 years old and my mother sat me down and said, 'Listen, baby, it's great that this show is the phenomenon that it is, but at some point this show is going to be over. This show could be over next year. What are you going to do when this show is over?'" She pointed out, if you look at anyone in this business who's had longevity, they've had periods where they were hot and periods they were not. She said, "If longevity is what you want in this business, then you have to decide what you're going to do during those times when you're not hot, so you're not out there making desperate career choices." During The Cosby Show's second season, his mother put together a team of professionals for him. By that time, the sitcom was the #1 rated show on television, a spot it maintained for 5 consecutive seasons. His mother was adamant he sit through the business meetings, saying, "My mother would drag me kicking and screaming to meetings with my business manager. She would tell me, 'I'm not going to be responsible for messing your money up.' I've had smart people on my team who have kept me smart." As he began to speak more to the youth, he realized those book reports his father had him write as a small child equipped him to connect the power of The Cosby Show to the public. In 1986, he was nominated for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Comedy Series at the Primetime Emmy Awards. As The Cosby Show universe expanded, he appeared on 2 episodes of its spinoff, A Different World. He also honed his skills as a director, making his debut with New Edition's N.E. Heartbreak music video. He would go on to direct 5 episodes of The Cosby Show, including one of the series' most memorable episodes, Off to See the Wretched, when Vanessa snuck off to Baltimore. As the 1990s churned on, he appeared on NBC's new breakout hit, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and played the role of Hilary Banks' boyfriend, along with directing an episode. After The Cosby Show finished in 1992, Bill Cosby tapped him to star in a new series called Here and Now. Although it was not a spin-off of The Cosby Show, Malcolm's new character, Alexander James, had several parallels to Theo Huxtable. But the series didn't get the same treatment. It aired on Saturday nights on NBC, which in the 90s was considered the graveyard slot of television. Here and Now only lasted one season, and even Bill Cosby acknowledged the show was poorly written. Malcolm was adept to the ebbs and flows of the entertainment industry, but he stayed working. There is no way we are going to get through his full resume in this episode, but we are going to highlight some special roles. He got into voice acting, speaking in the role of the producer on the Magic School Bus. He continued to direct and began producing, especially during the golden age of Nickelodeon shows like All That and Kenan and Kel. His next major role was in the UPN sitcom Malcolm and Eddie in 1996. He starred alongside Eddie Griffin, portraying best friends of the same names who start a business. However, the behind the scenes of the show were far more chaotic. The real-life Malcolm and Eddie had two completely different work styles and often clashed. Malcolm said he and Eddie got through the situation by praying together and remembering they were there to do a job. Malcolm also struggled with the content of the show, as it was polar opposite from The Cosby Show. The show was made up of an all-white writing team oblivious to the lives of young black men and often played into stereotypes. Nevertheless, the show was key to building the golden era of UPN's black television programming. Malcolm contributed to the show apart from acting, including he and Eddie composing the theme song with the incomparable George Duke, occasionally writing and directing more than a dozen episodes. Malcolm's personal life also came to a head while filming the show. He and actress Michelle Thomas dated from 1988 to 1994. She first found fame portraying Theo Huxtable's girlfriend Justine on The Cosby Show, but the two had known each other beforehand. Michelle would go on to find greater fame playing Myra on the hit TV show Family Matters. In 1997, a cancerous tumor was found in Michelle's stomach, which she battled for over a year. Although she and Malcolm had broken up, he was by her side in her last days and valued her influence for the rest of his life.
When I think about the people who have been most inspirational to me, I'd have to put Michelle at the top of that list.
She loved Malcolm so much, and he loved her. They were the cutest couple.
When I think about someone whose light, was big and bright, Michelle's light always shone.
When Michelle made her transition and went on to glory, Malcolm was right there.
Her mother said that he got in the bed with her and held her, and she was gone.
At every point in her life, Michelle has always made the highest choice. And I kind of hold the way I live my life up against how she lived her life. Even today, when I'm faced with a decision, I go back to Michelle and I say, what choice would Michelle have made?
By the time Malcolm and Eddie went off the air in 2000, a relationship blossomed between him and his co-star Karen Molina White. The two first met when she played the role of Charmaine on The Cosby Show, but she recalls she didn't pay Malcolm much mind because she is a bit older than him. Her time as Nicolette on Malcolm and Eddie was turbulent, as writers, for some inexplicable reason, included running jokes calling her ugly. She said the jokes began to take a toll on her self-esteem, along with feelings of resentment towards the actresses who would portray Malcolm's love interests. The network also wanted to fire her, but Malcolm would advocate for her, and she managed to remain on the show through the final season. The two dated for 7.5 years, and many speculated they married because Malcolm wore a band on his ring finger. He denied the nuptials, telling Essence magazine, "I'm not married. People probably started saying that because we were in a relationship for 7.5 years. Also, until recently, I have always worn a ring on my ring finger. I started wearing my first ring at 13, and by the time I was 17, I realized the significance and just kept it there. It was always a good excuse, like how women flash a wedding ring." As the 2000s progressed, Malcolm starred in more TV shows. In 2002, he co-starred in the post-apocalyptic drama Jeremiah alongside Luke Perry. The show aired for 2 seasons. Afterwards, he co-starred on Listen Up, a sitcom loosely based on a sports talk show alongside Jason Alexander during its lone season. But in 2003, he let the world in on his talent as a bassist. He developed a music collective called Miles Long and released his debut EP, the Miles Long Mixtape, which served up jazz funk fusion and spoken word poetry. In 2011, it seemed another classic was in the making when he starred opposite Tracee Ellis Ross in the sitcom Read Between the Lines on BET. Malcolm portrayed Dr. Alex Reed, an English professor at New York University, and Tracee portrayed his wife, Dr. Carla Reed, a psychologist. The show debuted to strong ratings, and a spinoff was greenlit shortly afterwards. However, the ratings began to fluctuate, and BET was sending mixed signals about a season 2 renewal. While they were waiting, Tracee Ellis Ross had an opportunity to star in an NBC pilot show, which BET approved her doing. Once BET greenlit a second season, Tracee could not move forward with Read Between the Lines due to scheduling conflicts. She told Essence, "The timing got complicated and there was a need to move forward. BET had to figure out how to deal without me because I wasn't available. But it's not because I wanted to leave. I love Read Between the Lines. I believe in it. There is a chance I'll go back, always. There's nothing weird about it." Malcolm finished the second season, but BET decided to shelve the series. It would not be until 2015 that the second season was released to the public through BET's sister channel Centric. Despite the issues, Malcolm's work garnered him an NAACP Image Award for Outstanding Actor in a Comedy Series. Sometime around 2010, Malcolm and actress Regina King became an item. The two were longtime friends, as Regina was a teen star on another NBC sitcom, 227. Regina told Essence in 2011, "Malcolm and I have a lot in common. We've both been child actors, and we're also blessed to be raised by incredible mothers who instill good values in us. Things are maturing nicely." Regina was rather chatty about the relationship, but Malcolm was more reserved, telling BET in 2011, "I think Regina and I are both of the philosophy that we keep our private lives private. Our relationships go through all kinds of peaks and valleys, and I think it's unfortunate, when you live in the public eye of course, your peaks and valleys are going to be heavily scrutinized. So we just kind of prefer to protect what we have going on because relationships are work anyway. We don't need the rest of the world in our Kool-Aid. So we like to protect what we have because it's very special and very precious. We like to keep it out of everybody's hands and visions. But I will say that it's a relationship that makes all the sense in the world." The two denied being engaged, but they continued to build a life together, with Regina and her son reportedly moving in with Malcolm. Then suddenly, in March 2013, reports emerged Malcolm and Regina were over, and that he allegedly asked Regina and her son to move out of his home. Us Weekly reported an unnamed source as saying, "He said he wasn't feeling it anymore. She's still very brokenhearted." Fans quickly jumped to Regina's defense, prompting her to take to Twitter. She tweeted, "Hey everybody, please don't believe everything you read. Me and Malcolm-Jamal Warner are good. Life happens. Forward motion. Godspeed." In 2015, Regina did an interview with Us Weekly that reignited the chatter. She said, "Someone broke up with me on Valentine's. Yeah, I'm serious. Then he actually sent me flowers that said, "I still love you." And I threw the flowers in the trash, and he was upset I threw them in the trash, and I was like, "F you." I love flowers, but he thought that was right. What a donkey, right? When pressed on the identity of the ex, she quipped, "They'll know." Considering the timing and details, many people assumed she was speaking of Malcolm. Whatever the case, both parties eventually moved on in the public eye. Malcolm spent the last decade of his life expanding personally and professionally. He won a Grammy for Best Traditional R&B Performance for a cover of Stevie Wonder's Jesus Children of America alongside the Robert Glasper Experiment and Layla Hathaway. Despite the buzz around his music career, he declined to sign to a label because he was not interested in being a celebrity musician. He spent much of the 2010s answering questions about the allegations surrounding Bill Cosby and how they reshaped the legacy of The Cosby Show. In 2015, he told Billboard magazine, "He's one of my mentors, and he's been very influential and played a big role in my life as a friend and mentor. Just as it's painful to hear any woman talk about SA, whether true or not, it's just as painful to watch my friend and mentor go through this. I can't really speak on any of the allegations because obviously I was not there. The Bill Cosby I know has been great to me and great for a lot of people. What he's done for comedy and television has been legendary and history making. What he's done for the Black community and education has been invaluable. That's the Bill Cosby I know. I can't speak on the other stuff." In 2017, Malcolm revealed he had married and become a father to a daughter, though he decided to withhold their names for privacy reasons. He hit a new stride in acting in a string of memorable roles. He portrayed Julius Rowe in Suits, a role he had to audition for 4 times, and he impressed as Matt Walker on 10 Days in the Valley. He grew a new following when he recurred and later starred as the surgeon A.J. Austin on The Resident for 6 seasons. Amongst his last appearances include roles in 911 and Alert: Missing Persons Unit. In 2023, he scored another Grammy nomination, this time for Best Spoken Word Poetry Album. In 2024, he launched a podcast called Not All Hood, where he sought to diversify the presentation of Black life in America. He told People magazine, "When we talk about the Black community, we tend to speak of it as a monolith when the reality is there are so many different facets of the Black community, and we wanted to have a space where we can really explore, discuss, and acknowledge all of those different aspects." Tragically, Malcolm lost his life when he drowned in Limon Province, Costa Rica on July 20th, 2025. His known survivors include his wife, daughter, Mother Pamela, and Father Robert. Malcolm lived his life wanting to be an upstanding representation of himself and his people. In an interview on Hot and Bothered with Melissa Ford shortly before his passing, he mentioned his father told him that the public loves him because of his success, but he loved him for being a decent human being. Malcolm said, "I'm a good person because my dad's a good person. It is possible to walk through this world, and with all of the darkness in the world, it is possible to maintain your soul and be a good person." Thank you for spending time with us. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share if you haven't already. Also, visit our Substack at blackamericana.substack.com and be sure to sign up for our newsletter. See you soon.